So here's my little studio
Nice.
set up, my back garden. Pretending I can play guitar and bass. So that's part of the drum kit from the first album.
Wow.
The Pompeii, etc. Old Pearl Masters, which is the second coming of that kit, because the first one got nicked out the back of my van in Wimbledon in 2011. So I hope the person who nicked that is now dead. That'd be great. We got baffles. Got an old 60s Ludwig set up.
Nice.
Which is very nice. And got a shelf full of toys. So got a load of British Drum Company stuff here. All really nice things.
Got a couple of Luddies in there by the looks of it, haven't you?
Yeah, old 60s Ludwig. I got this is my new baby. Got a late 1940s Slingerland Rodeo King. Got that in where is that? Nelson's Drum Shop in Memphis.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Nashville. So not Memphis. Nashville. I apologise. Got all me recording gear and everything down there. Studio's an absolute mess. So I apologise. I let the kids in here earlier.
That's fine.
And
the studio shouldn't be tidy.
They just tore it apart. Yeah. Loads of toys.
So what do you do in that room then? What do you actually record in that room? Is it just a practice room?
Yeah.
What's going on there?
All sorts. I've done have been doing it. I got a couple coming up. Done some remote sessions in there. So
okay.
If anyone's in need, I know likely it's going to be mostly drummers watching, so they probably don't need drums recording.
I don't think there's mostly drummers watching, Woody. I think I can see already that I've got some faithful people that have come in that are massive Script fans, and they're stuck with me since I interviewed a chat with Glenn last week. So there's a lot of music fans in here, so you'll be fine. But anyway, yeah. So you're doing some remote sessions, are you?
Yeah, we're doing that for a little bit, and I've done some demo stuff for a couple of new Bastille tracks as well. And what else? It's a really good spot. So hang on, I've got, because my live setup's quite complicated.
Yeah,
I've got like loads of triggers, remote pedals there, and all sorts of stuff. So it used to be that I had to go and rent a drum room, and it took me about an hour to get it all set up and plugged in. But now, with the Bastille stuff, I can spend time in here and figure out what I'm doing, because a lot of our stuff, it's kind of, when we initially record it, like normal drums go down, and then we get the extra program bits on there as well, and it ends up with me having to basically play like 2 or 3 drum parts by myself. So I kind of had to do this weird octopus impression where I'm hitting a few pads here and there and playing the real kit. So yeah, this is a good space to kind of figure out quite how to pull that off.
So how long have you had that space?
About nearly 3 years now.
Okay, so let's go back to the beginning. Actually, before we start, I've got something to show you. First of all, I need to thank you. Listen, I'm a Script fan, but I love Bastille too. First of all, I need to thank you, because you're not even aware that this happened. But when we went and met up in Brighton a couple of, 4 or 5 weeks ago, was the last time I saw my parents. Unfortunately, now they're in, obviously been in isolation since then. So obviously it was a complete fluke. I came down and I stayed with my parents, and then we went and had a lovely curry or Indian in, trying to remember the name of the place now, but it was really good.
Manju's.
Manju's, great. Big shout out to Manju's, really good place. So I never thought that would be the last time that I would see them until after, hopefully, this all has finished. So thank you for that. But second of all, I've got something to show you. Okay, I dug this off the wall. Now, we've all got, obviously, lanyards and lots of things that we collect over the years, etc., etc. But this one means a lot to me, and I know it'll mean a lot to you. So this here, okay, was my Champions League final for performing with all the drummers. This was my Access All Areas. I think I showed you.
Just
the
be
video.
careful what you're about to say, because that thing we discussed.
No, I'm not about to say anything. I'm not about to say anything. I know exactly what I'm saying. But we were talking about that as big football fans, and I said it was such a highlight for me to be able to do that walk through the Wembley onto the Wembley pitch.
Very
so
jealous.
I thought I've got to dig that out and show you it. So, what's the current situation with you? Where you know, what stage had you got to with the band, and has this put a hold on everything, and what's going on?
So this is our first planned year off in, well, ever, pretty much. So since the band formed in 2010. So just by complete coincidence, the entire world shut down at the same time. So yeah, I mean, there are songs being written for the next album, but nothing's been really recorded yet. Yeah, just having a year off. I was planning to go and see more friends than I currently am at the minute.
Okay.
But get some more family time. But I mean, it's quite fortunate that obviously I've got this studio here, and everyone else has got some sort of setup at home. So feasibly, we can get a lot of stuff done remotely. But yeah, I mean, to be honest, if I had a crystal ball, I'd tell you, I'd love to know what the world's going to look like in 2 months' time, let alone this time next year. Yeah. So, I mean, all being well, we'll be back out again next year in new music and that sort of stuff. But I have absolutely no idea what the state of the music industry is going to look like in a few months' time.
How currently, obviously you're down in Brighton, lovely part of the world, my hometown, as I just mentioned, or my first hometown. So how how's the day work for Woody at the moment?
God, it's brutal. I've got a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, and every day is Groundhog Day. We've got people saying, "Oh, I'm really bored." Sort of thing. I dream of being bored. Yeah. It's we just haven't stopped. So my wife and I, just by the end of each day, we're just completely wiped out. Trying to entertain 2 chaotic little men, and but no, it's good. I mean, we're fortunate to have this space, and we've got some pretty decent green space like next to our house, so we can take the boys for a run about and just try and stay sane as best as possible.
Is that your phone that's buzzing?
Yeah, sorry, Ian.
Oh, no.
I wanted to stop.
That's fine. I was thinking, hang on, what's all that noise that's going on? Is it mine or yours? I keep looking at my phone to see if it's okay. So you're keeping them busy, and are they playing football, the boys?
Yeah, football, cricket. I've got the eldest working on his batting stance at the minute.
Okay.
And, obviously hurling in tennis balls from about 10 yards out, taking his head off. But start them young. Yeah. But it's great fun. I've got a little trampoline in the garden as well. Just so if they're too hyped up, just chuck them on there. Steam.
And what do you do to relax, or you don't get chance?
Me. Some of this stuff. That's about it, really.
Brilliant. Okay, so let's talk about the band. I think, actually, correct me if I'm wrong, but you are at a big celebration year. This is 10 years now, isn't it?
Yeah, well, we formed in 2010.
Yeah.
We didn't start gigging proper until 2011. In fact, our first gig was actually in Brighton, believe it or not.
Oh, really?
Well, first gig proper. Yeah, it was a great escape.
Wow.
And yeah, so it's been a while now, but it's weird because I've been a professional musician now for quite a number of years, and it's weird just not having gigs in the diary or things to go and do or be lugging gear about or what have you. So yeah, it's all just a very surreal time at the minute.
So what do you remember about your? I know you put a photo up today. I looked at the photo of one of your early gigs.
Yeah.
What do you remember about the early days and trying to get some people interested in you, etc., etc.?
It's funny because everyone talks about like what was that one moment where it all happened for you. It's like it wasn't. It's just it was a real slow burn.
Yeah. And
yeah, we did all the sort of classic things of we borrowed our friend's mum's car and we just stayed on friends of friends' floors and just toured and lost money, played to 9 people, drove hundreds of miles, did that sort of thing, and just kept on building and building and building. And then like a few little things kind of happened along the way. Like the mixtapes we did, one of the songs did really well on Hype Machine back in the day, and that kind of kicked things on a bit. And yeah, it's lots of little things kind of happened. But yeah, those sorts of tours, I mean, they were amazing fun, but it's only myself and Dan at the time who could drive. So we were alternating whilst the other 2 slack asses in the back were getting drunk every night. So yeah.
Right. But then I find that even now people think that, I mean, don't get us wrong, it is a great lifestyle. It's a glamorous lifestyle, but there's a lot more goes into it than, you know, those 90 minutes sitting on the stage and playing.
Well, yeah, I mean, touring it's 5% playing, 95% waiting around.
Yeah.
But obviously that 5% is amazing, and it's well worth it. But yeah, I mean, well, especially back then, like you aren't doing it for the money or the glamour when you're playing in some toilet circuit venue, lugging your kit in. If I had to basically change my kit for that first tour, just to try and fit it like in the car.
Yeah.
So I had to go and get like a smaller bass drum, lose half my stuff, and it was basically like playing Tetris every night, just trying to get all the gear in different corners of the van.
Brilliant. Yeah, I remember speaking to a very well-known, successful drummer, and I said, over the 50-year career you've had, you know, what's the difference been? And he said, space. And I was like, what do you mean space?
Yeah.
And he said, well, you know, you all are crammed into a little van, all staying in one hotel room. And as you get more successful, you end up with your own hotel room, you know, bigger motors, at his stage, private jets, etc., which I thought was a great analogy.
Okay, yeah.
You're not in private jets yet, are you?
No, sadly not. But I mean, one day you never know. But then, yeah, it's quite an over-the-top way of doing things. But I mean, having said that, so when you kind of graduate to a tour bus, that's brilliant in terms of you can, in theory, sleep on the way to where you're going and not have to do all the sort of hotel ins and out and hours in the van. But a lot of people don't sleep that well on tour buses, so you don't actually feel that rested once you get there. Plus, you're essentially on a giant rolling flat, which is just full of beer. So yeah, people aren't often early to bed, a cup of cocoa and a nice book.
So you're not a good sleeper on a tour bus?
I'm not too bad, actually. Yeah, there's a couple of people on the crew and what have you who kind of struggle a bit.
Right.
But I mean, everyone's different. It's massively down to the driver as well. Like there is no more terrifying sound on earth if you're in a tour bus bunk and sleeping than the sound of rumble strips.
Right.
Just like duff 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 duff. It means that you're probably waving a little bit on the road.
Any scary stories?
Trying to think. Not particularly. We've been quite fortunate to have pretty good drivers most of the way, and there's any stories that I would tell you are probably a bit libelous, so okay. I'll save that for after.
So no one been left at service stations in the toilets, or?
Yes, there has been. Linda, who used to work on our management, bless her, she's amazing. Everyone jumped off for the obligatory toilet stop, KFC, what have you, and it just, I mean, we done those stops so many times, and just for some reason she got forgotten, so we had to do a not an actual U-turn on the motorway, but yeah, we had to go back and get her.
Brilliant. That was the reason why they invented. You've frozen on me for a second. I'll wait for you to come back. We've got a buffer in. Woody's frozen on us. Dan. Bear with us, everyone. He's back on the side of the room. Hopefully he's coming back. Let's get him back. Bear with us. Let's see if we can find him again. I'm sorry, everybody. Woo! Okay, so bear with us while I get Woody back. Here we go. Here he is. Here we go. Go live. Woody, he's back in. He's back. Here we go. He's connecting and he's back. You're back?
Back to the dead, sorry.
There you go. Don't worry. Yeah, that was the reason why, I can't remember the name of the band that started this, but everyone used to have a little doll. And as they left the tour bus at service stations, they used to have to take their doll with them. And then the driver, when he got into the driving seat, could look on the tray and see if any of the dolls were missing. He knew that he didn't have everybody in the on the tour bus, which I thought was a
usually on tours idea. you get numbered laminates, like everyone's got like an individual laminate. So
Yeah.
normally it's, if you get off, you leave your laminate on the driver's like passenger seat. So like he knows that someone's off the bus.
Yeah, I think they do it on purpose.
Oh, definitely.
Okay, so let's talk about the first album. Let's go back to the beginning. Okay.
Yeah.
So obviously as we come forward, we'll talk more about the way that you've become, if there's such a term, the hybrid drummer. Okay. So what was it like at the beginning, trying to understand the electronics, the acoustic, and everything that was going on?
Infuriating.
Okay.
No, I mean, I've always been a bit of a techie sort of nerd anyway, so I didn't mind the challenge. But initially, and again with electronics especially, like they aren't cheap. So we had an original SPDS that we used to share between me and Dan. So like that was down the front, because there was a song we did of the first album called Overjoyed, where I would come down and I would just be playing SPDS, and then we'd run like a monster long cable back to me, so then I could play like hand clap samples off that same SPDS, because again you only had like 8 or so channels to use anyway, so you had to be a little bit more creative with it. But yeah, the like setup sort of grew. So the first album, I had enough electronics that I could perform all the bits that I needed, and then when it came to album 2, it was like, right, I'm not going to be that guy where it's like had a little bit of success, you got a drum tech, and all of a sudden your kit just doubles in size, and you got all these pointless extras. But then, as the songs started getting finished for album 2, then it's like, I need that, and I need that, and it's like, I've become that guy. So yeah, it just exploded, and there's like extra pads everywhere and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, it's been a gradual sort of like evolution getting to that point. But yeah, it's just what was quite good as well, because obviously we started off in smaller venues and worked our way up. Like any sort of headaches we had, you just kind of learn on the job how to fix it, like certain settings, whatever, just to make the triggers behave properly. And when you get into bigger rooms, you find that, say, like subs on certain stages will trigger your triggers by accident. So you have to like change your thresholds and all that sort of thing. But yeah, just really, really trial and error. I mean, I feel pretty confident kind of explaining it now and taking people through it. I've done a handful of masterclasses about it before, but it's all just through experience. Like, yeah, we started off with this knackered old SPDS and a dodgy cable, and just kind of grew from there.
Okay, well, I'm going to open it up to let people send you some questions. So if you've got any questions now, send them in, and I will look at the screen for questions. I also want to talk to you about the process now, for if it's changed, for writing songs and new material. What's the process? I
mean, it's not too different in terms of, I mean, so Dan is the writer in the band. Like he writes the songs, and previously, so the first album, we were coming into this like basement studio in Battersea, and like in between our dodgy jobs, we had just, you find an hour here, hour there, just put some parts down and then go again. Now we're fortunate enough that obviously after a little bit of success, we've got a studio in South London, which is now our own. It's kind of made for that. So it's got like a really nice drum room in there as well. So like just everything is there, good to go, and we can actually post up there for like a week or a month or whatever, and just get stuff done. So I guess the process is just a bit slicker and easier in terms of we haven't got to jump around between jobs or what have you. And even on the second album, we tracked a load of drums at a place called The Pool in Bermondsey, which is like a great sounding drum room. But yeah, now like there isn't even any real need to go there, I don't think. Like we can achieve everything like in the one space, which is great. But yeah, I mean, like Dan still writes. He just never stops. And yeah, we get sent ideas and 5 bits back. And as I said, like we demoed some songs a couple of weeks ago, and then tracked some bits in here, sent it over via email. And yeah, I guess I mean, now because of isolation and what have you, I guess that's going to massively affect the process in a way. But
will it affect the process even though now that you can bounce files back and forth? I mean, I guess you can't be all together.
Yeah, but I mean, in terms of actually like being together in the same space, like for instance, like Blame, which is a song for the second album, that kind of evolved quite a bit through like sound checks on tour, which obviously that's not going to happen for the foreseeable.
No.
But yeah, I mean, essentially, if it's music that we're proud of, then it's Bastille music still.
Right.
but we've not really been chained to genres too much. And we've kind of there's big influences from like rock through hip hop to like electronica and like ballads and strings and yeah, like all sorts really. So yeah.
Okay, so you got a question here from Jenny. She wants to know your favourite piece of kit.
My favourite bit of kit is I'll show it to you. Hold on. Watch this space.
He's disappeared. It's going to be good.
Yeah, banging and crashing in the background.
He's ripping his kit to pieces. Oh, is that the big
this is made for me by Keith Keogh, he of British Drum Company, who I'm with now. Back when he was at Premier, this is one of a kind custom snare drum.
Oh, beautiful.
Called the Plymouth. And it's got the Mayflower on there from Plymouth Argyle's badge, and it weighs an absolute ton.
I thought that was
it's super thick as well. Exactly, yeah. And yeah, it's an absolute beast. So yeah, use that on a few songs. The most prominent one is off a mixtape we did. It's a collaboration with a song with Haim actually called Bite Down. You can hear it on that. But yeah, that's my first ever proper snare drum.
Right.
And yeah, I absolutely love it.
Well, we'll talk a little bit about the company, British Drum Company, in a second as well. But somebody's come in here and Phoebe's asked if you could play any other instrument, what would it be? I'm
a complete hack bass player, but gun to my head, I could get through a couple of songs if I had to. If I had the time, I wish I could play piano.
Right.
But obviously, people now are locked down by themselves. They could go and learn an instrument. I'm trying to tidy up and
keep the kids
flying hard. Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, very common question that comes in 10133. Your favourite Bastille song to play?
It changes, to be honest. Like every gig. I mean, the one that I think kind of covers the full spectrum is one called "Fake It." We're off the second album, which I love because it's all very electronic at the start, and I had to figure out all different like pad parts for that. And then towards the end, it kind of progresses and it builds, and it goes kind of a bit post rock at the end. And like I grew up basically idolizing people like Dave Grohl and what have you, and just trying to basically snap my drum kit in two. So that's one of the few songs that like I can go absolute hell for leather and just try and snap it basically.
Okay, now there's another one here, which might be a harder one for you to think about, but let's have a go. Your favourite song to play from each album?
Oh, for God's sake.
Can you remember each album?
I can, yeah. I'll tell you what's dreadful. I couldn't tell you the album track order anymore of each one, which I know is sacrilege, but first album favourite to play would be probably Pompeii, just because that song literally changed our lives for the better.
Yeah.
Second album would be well, I said Fake It. We'll say Fake It, and then for the third album, probably Doom Days, the title track.
Okay.
It's quite short, but again, that's a proper pad one, which I had to spend quite a bit of time getting together. But yeah, I just feel quite cool playing it live, and kind of references things like climate change and what have you, and yeah, it just sounds absolutely massive through a big old PA stack as well.
But do the songs mean something to you, i.e. because the band broke for that, or because you met your wife, or you met someone, but you know, do particular songs mean something to you in particular?
So mention my wife actually. So she's technically our first ever drum tech and merch girl as well. So in the early days, yeah, she was chipping in. You know what's funny? So there's like certain songs that when we're playing it, it just takes me back to certain places. So like Floors, every time we play it, I just get transported back to when we were unsigned. We did this thing called the River Rat Pack tour, and it was 5 bands on one massive canal barge going up from Vauxhall in London all the way up to Oxford. Wow. And we stopped doing gigs for it was like 7 gigs in 7 days along the way, and it was carnage. Just it was sponsored by a beer company, and they basically sacrificed all sleeping space just for more booze storage. It was disgusting, but it was a lot of fun. So yeah, there's like certain songs that just kind of transport me back to like certain places, I guess. But yeah, but like Floors would be one of them for that. And also, if I mentioned Overjoyed earlier, when we did Reading for the first time in 2012, and we played that, and like Dan just kind of played the first few chords, sang the first line, and then the crowd just like roared the words back at him. It was like, oh, okay, something's happening here. Yeah. Everyone seems to know the word. But yeah, it's even just really like mundane things. Like Good Grief, for some reason I always think about when we played that on TV for the first time, because it was kind of like, oh well, the first album went well and we're back again now, so that's a relief. We get like at least one more go round, I hope. Yeah. So that was, yeah, I don't know, just odd little things like that just kind of pop in your head.
You might have already mentioned it with Fake It, but somebody's asked your most complicated song for you to play.
It's the most complicated song to play is a song from second album called Four Walls. I put in probably 3 or 4 weeks into learning 16 bars of music because it's all completely programmed on the record, and there's like loads of kind of like trappy hi-hat bursts, and there's like 2 different bass drum sounds in it, and I had to basically kind of try and forget how to play drums almost, and just think in shapes and patterns with the pads. So I could do it now, but yeah, I had a lot of temper tantrums trying to get that together, mainly in here. So in fact, yeah, every time I play that song, I think of this room and like the hours and hours and hours spent in here primarily.
Holly, no, he's not in Plymouth at the moment. He's in Brighton. What made you make that move to Brighton? How come you ended up there?
So from Plymouth originally, as you can tell from the accent, because I say grass and path because there is no R in path. And yeah, moved to London and chased the dream, and that seemed to have panned out. So met the band, met the wife, did very well out of that. So yeah, just we had our family, and I really missed being by the seaside, and just really fancied a change. So we moved out once we had the kids, and also just a bit more space out here. Everyone's a bit more chilled out.
Yeah.
And we're only like an hour from London as well. So, I mean, when I was in Wimbledon, it took me 45 minutes on the tube to get to Victoria. It takes 55 on the fast train from here. So it's much of a muchness.
Yeah. And you got a beach. Which is your favourite? I think this is, I'm going to get the name wrong, so I might even try TRD Luca. Which is your favourite country to play a concert in?
Loaded question, because if I answer wrong, I'm just going to get abused by everyone else.
Exactly. Well, let's change the question, Woody. Woody, we'll change it. What's the most memorable gig you've done in a particular country?
Memorable because it was a bit surreal to watch it. When we did Rock Werchter in Belgium in 2013, the album had just come out. It's 13 or 14, and so basically, when we got booked, the album hadn't quite blown up yet, or Pompeii hadn't done its thing yet. So by the time we came to the summertime, like people were kind of aware of us because of that song. So we're kind of booked like middle of the day on the main stage, and it was like, I think probably still the biggest crowd we ever played to. It's like 100,000+. And when we played our cover of the night, you could see the actual delay of the speed of sound, like reaching people at the back, so people were jumping, but like in a wave. So I'm just playing it like, this is the most surreal thing I've ever seen in my life. So yeah, just purely for that, and just something you don't see every day or even once in your life. Yeah, it was that.
Okay, Rita has asked you, have you written any songs for side projects?
I've been involved in a few side projects, but nothing I can talk about here. But yeah, I mean, I'm trying to get into doing more of that as well at the minute.
Okay.
Hence the studio and the right sessions.
Your favourite travel meal?
Favourite travel meal?
Yeah. Well, what do you eat before you go on stage?
The golden rule is you eat 3 hours before stage time.
Yeah.
Because the last thing you want is food repeating on you. And yeah, try and avoid anything spicy if you can. Favourite travel meal? So in true Bastille fashion, it's normally you find the one thing you like and it doesn't kill you, and just eat that repeatedly. So the boys are obsessed with going to Wagamama's or Vapiano, which apparently is now in administration. So
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
creatures of habit. But now my favourite meal is definitely currywurst
Okay.
in Berlin, which is so yeah. As far as places to visit, Berlin's my favourite city, hands down.
What's a question from me? This one. What's on your rider?
Ha. It's all pretty standard, to be honest. Like your normal, like crudités and your hummus and crisps and beers and whatever. Always gin, always red wine. Buckfast is on there as well,
Okay.
which is everyone associates with Scotland and Northern Ireland, but actually made in Devon, about 10 miles up the road from Plymouth. But Buckfast is really good because it's got a ton of caffeine in it and booze. So if you're a bit jet lagged, it's kind of like a little shot of game face before going on stage. It's quite useful. Apart from that, yeah, it's all pretty dull stuff, really. There's like nothing like extraordinary like blue M&Ms or whatever.
Okay. Well, I heard somebody said to me the other day, Simon from Squeeze, they have a local postcard. And they always they can send it to a family, friend member, or whatever. And then anyone that was watching this the other night, I apologise, but another time I heard somebody always used to say he used to ask for a pair of underpants, a pair of socks, a toothbrush, and a toothpaste, so that he didn't have to worry about his washing or anything else, which I thought was quite a cool thing to have.
Yeah, a lot of it's quite practical, but also like everyone talks about that Van Halen story of like wanting M&Ms with like the whatever it was, like the brown ones taken out, whatever. But that was purely like a safety thing, believe it or not, because they had some mad technical rider with like pyrotechnics and fireworks, and they were like, well, if they've missed off the M&Ms, they've probably not seen the "do not point dynamite" at the stage or whatever it is they had on there as well. So
that's totally true. I mean, for those people that don't know that is, it's a true story. But the reason they do an obscure thing in the rider is so the tour manager can go straight for that item, and if he notices or she notices that item's not there, then they have to check the tour rider. But if it's there, then they know the rider's going to be good. Okay, Leah, I think I like that. I like this name. Leah likes coffee. Okay, so when you started out learning to play the drums, how did you stay motivated to keep practicing?
That's a good question. So I've also taught drums quite a bit as well over the years. So very, very long story short. So my dad is still a guitarist and singer around Plymouth. So I grew up watching him play, and I really naively thought when I was about 10 or wherever it was that you didn't have to read music if you play drums. So that was part of the appeal. And so I did that and subsequently learned to read music when I was taught. But I spent most of my time practicing playing along to music or like certain albums that I liked. I mean, I did some like rudimental practice and what have you, but kind of massive influence on me is a drummer called Steve White, who any drummer watching, they'll know exactly who Steve is. Yeah. So I saw Steve when he was doing a clinic tour when they first launched like the old Premiere series, and yeah, he just completely blew my mind. And basically because he plays like an absolute beast and he's so quick, but he actually broke it down in quite a simple way. It's like anyone can do this. It's just application and time and patience. And I guess I always had that in the back of my mind that anything is possible if you just slow it down, do it again, and just be patient. But also like it's still meant to be fun. I think everyone forgets that sometimes. Like especially on Instagram, it's just everyone is blasting 1 million notes a minute at the camera. Quite often not playing with anybody else though. I'd much rather be playing with people than just playing with myself. In a room, but so it becomes this sort of like arms race of like who can play the fastest, but I'd rather be like who can make the coolest music, totally, or make everyone dance or what have you.
For those that haven't seen them, I've started doing a total beginners daily drum lesson for those that are stuck in isolation.
I've seen it. How's that going?
Well, it's very difficult actually, because first of all I've never taught beginners, so I forgot. I don't know. It's hard to remember how to break it down. But obviously, the whole idea is that people can have something to do in the afternoon. I did get somebody send me a message the other day and said, "You owe me 3 chairs." One they wall out, and the other two they threw the patio door. So
right,
but yeah, I mean, drumming, it's meant to be fun. It's about playing along to your favourite songs. It's about playing along to Bastille music. That's what we play music for. Right, I'm going to take one more question, and then we're going to start wrapping this up. But any current bands that you're listening to? This is from Claudia.
Yeah, I go through little phases of getting obsessed with certain bits of music, but like the last band I got properly obsessed with was probably Idols from Bristol. Just it's so like I when I started out, I was always trying to find bands or drummers that excited me, and like that I couldn't like doing things that I couldn't do yet. So I just try and emulate that. But then I've kind of struggled to find some bands that really kind of excite me. But Idols is just brutal and visceral, and like you can just tell they mean it. And yeah, like a lot of the kind of messages in the music's like really strong as well. And yeah, so they really excite me. Because some of the bands we had on tours as well. There's a guy called Ulysses Wells who came out with us. He's wicked as well, worth watching out for. Trying to think who else. Again, this is like that. I'm going to sound so old now, just because with the kids, I haven't got time to spend browsing through new music too much. Just kind of whatever Spotify throws at me. Yeah, also just quite big into UK grime actually as well, of all things. Like, which I know is all program stuff, but yeah, I quite enjoy trying to emulate and play along to some of the like grime parts, which I know, or just trying to think of a way that you could apply it to the kit. Rather than doing the sort of samples, yeah, that I quite enjoy, because like grime itself it's quite punky, DIY, do it yourself, and they just kind of say and do what they want, which like I quite enjoy that as well.
So when you're playing, is that how you're coming across new music, when you're sitting down and playing along to just bands on the drums, or do you listen to? Are you walking around listening to music?
It's kind of half and half. I mean, obviously it's not going to happen this year, but quite often at festivals, it's a really good way of seeing bands. Like, yeah, you kind of get to meet them, or even ones that maybe you kind of heard of, but then when you kind of see them live, it clicks. Like the Amazons, they're great.
Yeah,
like live, like proper decent live band. And same goes for Idols, I guess. And then, but I mean, I'm probably listening kind of half and half to like music and then podcast as well, because also it's like it's quite nice to have a sort of, and obviously I love music, it's all I think about, but sometimes you need like a little bit of space away from it just to kind of recharge and have a sort of different headspace. So
you've just mentioned it, which you beat me to it. So my next question was about your podcast. So you've started these podcasts. Tell everyone a little bit about those.
I should really have put the link in my bio, shouldn't I? So it's not out yet. Yeah, I'll do it later. Yeah, I'll put it in after this. It's called the Duck and Dive Podcast, and I'm talking to anyone who manages to duck and dive a normal 9 to 5, which rhymes nicely as well. And yeah, it's just been really fun. So I'm just getting the first few episodes edited before I'll go ahead and release it. But we've had a former England cricketer on there, turned broadcaster. She's great. Had Steve White on there.
Yeah.
Had Rick Astley last week, of all people.
Wow.
He's an absolute sweetheart as well. So yeah, we've got a whole host of people, and there's a few maybes who I won't say yet in case it doesn't pan out. But yeah, it's quite a diverse bunch, like stand-up comedians, stunt people from films, all manner of stuff.
And have you put them on pause at the moment? Are you still filming even in isolation?
I'm doing it on isolation. So I was supposed to have been in LA. Well, I would have got back last week if all gone to plan, because I was meant to go and see Rage Against the Machine, which it was one of my favourite bands growing up, and I've never seen them. And I also had an interview booked in with a lady called Nicole Alvarez. So she's a DJ on K-Rock, who is kind of that's like the world famous radio station based out of LA. So yeah, she very kindly came on. So we did that via Zoom, and then. In fact, the last time I was sat here chatting on the phone like this, it was chatting to Rick Astley, as it goes.
Brilliant.
Yeah, did a very similar thing.
Right, good. Okay, final question for you, and then, like I said, we're going to let everyone go and chill out. So your association, you spoke about Keith with Premier Drums. You're now playing the British Drum Company drums.
Yeah.
I've got amazing looking drums, I have to say. So just tell us a little bit about the kit that you've got at the moment, or you had for the last tour.
Yeah. Oh, so yeah, Keith and Al and everyone up there. Yeah, they're just absolute boys. Like they like, so it's all handmade in the UK, and like it's like all their gear is just it's top drawer. Like really, really good. They really care. So they did me, because the company's only 4 years old. So they did me in time for Glastonbury last year, their first ever proper sort of like sparkle spray job. So on the last album campaign, like the sort of aesthetic we went for is like mega colourful, a bit ravey, and we're just kind of trying to think about what to do with the kit. And then we often get quite a lot of people at the front on tours, like with rainbow pride flags. So I thought, well, I'll see your flag, I'll raise you a drum kit. So yeah, got like a nice rainbow sparkle thing done on it. So yeah, like looks amazing, sounds great, and yeah, I couldn't be happier with Keith and everyone. But yeah, they're definitely worth checking out. Like,
well,
proper
what's
top
amazing
draw.
now is that obviously the reason I couldn't be any more fitting right now, that drum kit.
Yeah, trouble is that drum kit is currently in storage somewhere outside Birmingham, I think. So I can't get to it.
You know, it means a lot more. Listen, Woody, thanks so much for spending your time tonight with us. You know, this is going to stay up for 24 hours for everyone that's out there, and then it's going to disappear, never seen again. But thanks very much. It's all about having a bit of fun. Thanks to everyone for joining us. Woody, look after yourself, look after your boys, look after your wife, and we will be having another Indian in that, because you owe me one next time, by the way. So you know.
Right? Yeah, you paid. Yeah.
I paid that one. So you know, hopefully that restaurant's still going to be there after this. But anyway, thanks very much. You look after yourself. Have a good night. Okay, and thank you, everybody.
Much love.
Okay, thanks very much.
Right, thank you.
See you later, everyone. Good night.